Hello and welcome to Behind the Dreams, a Disney parks and Disney movies, all that, etc. Podcast. My name is Jordan, and with me, as always, is Jack. How are you today, Jack?
Doing good. I think I speak for both of us when we say we're looking forward to some more Disney in the future. I know I'm going at the
hmm
end of this month for 2 days, so not too long. But so we decided, you know, we're going back there soon. There's been a lot of news. Let's bring this back, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I leave in about I don't know, like 10 days, maybe less than that. I leave next Monday to head down. So
Yeah, nine days. Yeah, 9.
9 days, something like that. Yeah. We check in on the Tuesday. We're driving, so we will be uh, staying overnight somewhere Monday. For people that don't know, my wife is pregnant, so we are going to be driving down. Some people think I'm crazy for that, but I felt like one, there's stuff we want to do there that would be more expensive if we had to Uber or rent a car, and then also I didn't want her like trapped in the airplane because she's been having issues with like her sciatica and stuff like that flaring up, and I'm like, if she can't get up and walk around, that might be really painful for her. So at least we will be able to, like, if she's in pain, I can stop, we can take a walk somewhere, we can do whatever. I think she's also going to bring the I think she's going to bring her heating pad, and we've bought like an extension converter thing for the car so that way it can be plugged in. And yeah, so we'll be driving. We're only having 1 day in the parks, but we're hitting up three of them. We're going to start at
Nice.
DAC in case if I don't have a chance to say goodbye to Dino Land at some point. Then we're going to go to Epcot um, for Flower and Garden. And then we're going to hit up Magic Kingdom. And we're going the day I believe that they have extended park hours for Magic if you're a resort guest. So that'll be how we're going to fit it all in there. I would love to just go to Hollywood briefly and ride like Star Tours and then exit, but we'll see.
Mhm. Yeah.
um, yeah, so
I
we got a lot of stuff planned while we're down there, but I know it's just gonna fly by too.
Yep, I've got a similar schedule. We're just having a few meals the days around the park. Going to Chef Mickey's for breakfast the day we leave, and then going to a new favorite of my family, Cape May Cafe, at the Beach Club Resort, which is a very good value buffet meal if you're into seafood and stuff like that. And so we're doing that, and then the park day. I'm going, my brother's going, and my dad is going. My mom and sister want to stay at the resort and be at the pool, so they can do that. Uh, I am going to attempt to do all four parks in one day, starting at Epcot, going to Hollywood Studios. I am going to go to Animal Kingdom alone for two things: to ride Dinosaur one last time, and for the buffalo chicken chips because they're in Dinoland, and who knows if they'll still be there, and they're my favorite snack. That stand has been my favorite food stand in the parks since probably 2010 when they had the buffalo chicken and waffles. It served me well, that stand. So I want to say goodbye to that. And then going to Magic Kingdom at night, hopefully getting an evening lightning lane for Tron maybe. And yeah, just trying to hit all four. We'll see how successful it is, but uh, I hope we can do it.
Yeah, I might try to get on Tron while I'm over there. She obviously can't ride it. We were actually surprised to learn she can't ride the Safari too.
I
Um,
suppose, yeah, the
Little
terrain is pretty rough and bumpy. Yeah.
bumpy. But here's the funny thing: the hospital we go to, we went there for a scan the other day,
Mhm.
and like they have these like small but like large speed bumps in the parking garage, and it's like worse than that ride. And and my wife the whole time is like, why can't I ride Safari if I can ride in this parking lot? And she's like going off about it. Yeah, so that is what we're gonna be doing, but we're gonna go see the animals. She's, she watched that she's a big fan
Mm.
of the Animal Kingdom show on Disney Plus, so we're gonna go through and read, see some of the animals before we. I don't think we'll be there long. Animal Kingdom. We'll hit up Dino Land. I'll ride Dino. Um, she'll wait for me. It'll probably be like a 5 minute wait. I'll come out. We'll go see some animals. We can't do the safari, so that limits what we can see, and then we'll head over to Epcot for Flower and Garden midday.
Yeah,
Now
you
we
could do.
can't be there before 2 o'clock, right?
Yeah, no, oh yeah, no, that's gone now. The
We'll
park, you can
be good.
park hop anytime now. That changed, I think, like early January. So
That's what I thought.
yeah, so thank goodness, because that really limits the ability to be able to do anything.
Yeah. So we'll probably podcast after our trips and just kind of share of our experiences of what we did, because we also have a dinner. A breakfast. We're going to Ohana on the Saturday. We're going to drive over to
That's a good one.
Sarasota to see a baseball game with the Orioles spring training, and then um, just hitting up areas around there as well, like Springs, and then going to Giordano's for pizza outside of Disney, and uh, maybe seeing some friends while we're down there.
Nice.
But we do have some news to catch up on, and sadly, this news takes effect like right after I think both of us leave. Um,
Yeah.
April 5th is when this Star Tours is supposed to take effect here, which sucks because it's like, oh, even if one of us could have rode this and kind of like relayed the experiences
Yeah.
of what it's like, or how many times it took you to see the new stuff. Sometimes, when it first launches, they go ahead and put, like, they go ahead and do a rotation heavily featuring the new thing or exclusively featuring the new thing until a certain time. They didn't mention that in this, so I don't think that's the case. So you may go there on April 5th and not get it. I would assume April 5th they're probably going to be like really pimping out the new stuff on this
Yeah,
ride.
for sure. Even though after that, it's going to be a very similar cavalcade of the same scenes over and over. I
Yes.
feel like I'm always like, it's going to be different, and then I go to Naboo again, and I'm like, man,
That's the one I was going to mention. I get Naboo like all the time.
every time, and it's always the ending where the N1 starfighter crashes through the viewport and the pit droid falls in.
Not
It's
always.
always that,
Not
or
always.
it's the one where it bounces off
Yeah,
and then
I've
he
gotten
just
the
hit.
bounce
Yeah,
off one a lot
it's one of the
recently.
two. It's one of the two.
I would love. I see. The thing is, though, like I've become so accustomed to the Naboo thing that like when it ends with like the Boba Fett like asteroid thing, I'm like, man, I want it Naboo. Like, that is my favorite ending destination, I think. But uh, okay, so yes, they announced this like last year too, that they were bringing new Ahsoka content to Disneyland and Disney World's Star Tours. This time they updated and they said they're bringing some new stuff. This was released March 5th. StarWars.com put out an article about it, but they said that inspired by events in the recent Ahsoka series on Disney Plus is one of several updates coming to Star Tours starting April 5th at WDW Resort, Disneyland Resort, and Disneyland Paris. Among the new additions when you climb aboard your new next Star Speeder flight this spring, Ahsoka, Cassian Andor from Andor, or you can say from Rogue One, and
Yep.
Din Djarin and Grogu from The Mandalorian will be added to the urgent transmissions that may greet riders during their journey. And StarWars.com is excited to share an exclusive still from Ahsoka's transmissions below. Which is a weird way to word it because they actually have pictures of Andor and Mando and Grogu's transmission. So I don't know why they were just highlighting the Ahsoka transmission. Who knows? Maybe those are not like the real pictures for Andor and Mando and that they're going to look different.
Maybe, yeah.
With these additions, you'll now have an opportunity to experience more than 250 storyline variations aboard the attraction, including a visit to the planet Peridia from Ahsoka, the series. The Star Tours update is the first one since Kef Burr was at it at the release of Rise of Skywalker. Um, and also, I guess at Disneyland for a limited time now through June 2nd, you can take a ride on Hyperspace Mountain, enjoy themed food and beverage, and collect new merchandise and more during Seasons of the Force. You can also watch new fireworks display as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm. I
go
wish I
ahead.
was able. I wish I was able to go on Star Tours during that time because it's it's one of my favorite attractions at Hollywood Studios. Even though like Rise of the Resistance exists, and it's funny because Smuggler's Run, you think like riding the Millennium Falcon, that's every Star Wars fan's dream. Not as good as Star Tours still. So I'm just like I wish I would get to I could go on this, and I also wish that they would have added like a Mandalore type destination. I think that would have been
Mm-hmm.
really cool to go into like the abandoned like bases and everything like
Yes.
that, going into the caves. That could have been so cool to see. Maybe that's something they can add in the future, but I think that would have been a really excellent destination to add as well. But also, I understand like there's a lot that goes into probably reprogramming these simulators, getting the footage, getting everything ready. So I totally understand if they're prioritizing one over the other. But I have a feeling that once the Mando movie comes out, they're probably going to add something like that. I would hope so, at least. But yeah, that I'm very excited to see that, and I think it also adds more stuff for younger fans of Star Wars who have just started getting into it. With the sequel trilogy and everything, growing up with things like the Ahsoka show, the Clone Wars, and with Mandalorian, and I think that that's really good that they're continually showing love and updating this attraction because it deserves it. It deserves that love.
Yeah, I think um I've seen some wild stuff of people being like, why is this ride even still open when you have Smuggler's Run and the other one? I'm like, well, because it's better than Smuggler's Run, like you said.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
unfortunately, you don't feel like you're doing much in Smuggler's Run. And I was really excited to ride it. When I first rode it, I was a little disappointed because I'm like, that's it. Now there are some fun things to do because you can like activate Chewbacca mode where you just hear Chewie speaking the whole time instead of Hondo and all that. But it's like you would think when they're creating a new ride like this that they would have thought to have more than one mission for Smuggler's Run. There's no replayability. There's no like reason to re-ride it in the sense of maybe just getting on other positions, like other like, oh, I'm gonna um be the gunner this time. I'm gonna be, but some of those positions suck. You're like,
Yeah, and
oh, I just pressed this button like 2 times,
yeah, and
and
why is the button on the wall as well? Like that's the
yeah,
thing. Like the button's on the wall. Why not put it like on a console in front of the seat? Just baffling for that.
yeah. So it's like that was disappointing. The fact that like when this is what Disney should be doing, right? Is updating old rides like this when they allow you to update it. This ride was changed from the original Star Tours to be a simulator that has a screen, right? That's 3D instead of what it was before, which was just a film playing with the animatronic of Rex, driving you. And once they made that change, they did it to add the variations. Well, now that we got new movies and new shows, let's update that because for some, like you said, for some people that go there now, their Star Wars is Rey or their Star Wars is Mandalorian. They grew up with these characters, especially with them being on Disney Plus now, instead of like you don't have to rent anything. There's no movie to rent. Like these kids are growing up because they have Disney Plus so they can watch Bluey, and then they're going over and they're watching, Mandalorian or so there's a level of accessibility there that then if they go ride the ride and are like, oh, like I didn't get to see any of the characters I enjoyed, there's an option now where they can. I also think people are misreading this. I swear people don't read the full thing. and I'm trying to find where it said this, but people are saying that the Andor scene should be the um, Aldani escape that they had on the asteroid, like this planet that they did in the middle arcs of Andor. There is no Andor scene from this. It sounds like the only Andor and Mando content is coming from the transmissions. The highlighted part is the Paradia planet with the space whales, and even showed a little clip of this too when they announced it. So maybe I'm wrong, but Jack, do you get the same impression? I don't think there's anything other than the transmissions for Andor and Mandalorian at this point.
Yeah, I don't, at least this announcement doesn't seem to portray any idea that those are going to get individual scenes. I mean, if they do, that's awesome, but I don't think
And they should,
there's like
right?
yeah, there's not like a direct announcement in this year that would indicate to me at least that, oh yeah, they're also getting scenes. I feel like they would probably announce all of them then if they were trying to do that. Because otherwise, like, how are you going to know if you got it? I mean, maybe it's just a ploy to get people to ride it over and over again, hoping to get the Mando and Andor scenes, unknowing to them that they don't exist. But yeah, I think it's just the Ahsoka scene.
Yeah, which I just want to temper expectations because I think people are going to go in there riding this 50 times and be like, I only got the Ahsoka scene and just be really confused. So I just wanted to share that expectation because they never clearly mention that. They say, uh, you know, they start off talking about the Purgils with Ahsoka, and they say that moment is inspired by Ahsoka, the series, and they're like, among those is the Andor and Mandalorian urgent transmissions. That's it. Then they just talk about how the last time they added anything was during Rise of Skywalker. They usually only add one thing at a time like this. So I would assume it's just that one scene. Um, so leave that for what you will, I guess. Take that for what you will. I think that's fine. I think it's cool when you can add characters as the urgent transmissions and then also have scenes that are based off of whatever. And like you said, that they might add something. Usually they seem to add something for every film. They didn't for Rogue One and Solo, which actually this shows this is the first time they're updating anything that is outside of the Skywalker saga.
Mhm.
All of their updates before have been from like Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. So
I mean, I guess
interesting.
technically, Galaxy's Edge they did add Batu, so
I meant
technically,
to. Oh, you mean
yeah,
like at the exit thing? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, like the first time they're adding anything based off of not
right, yeah.
the movies, right? Like not the Skywalker saga. But Ahsoka is so closely associated with those characters because of the Clone Wars, and of course you have a live action Ahsoka. So now you're going to go ahead and put her in this attraction to get those fans that grew up with Ahsoka. Like we said, not just people growing up with Mandalorian or whatever. There's people that grew up with Ahsoka that before you're like, how could we put her in this without it being like, without the jolt of it being a cartoon character? Well, now you got a live action Ahsoka, so you can do that and it makes sense and it works.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hopefully this ride never dies. I think it's fine. The wait time is always fluctuating. There's times where I'm like, oh, it's 5 minutes, and then there's times where I come back later and it's long, and I'm like, wow, that's odd.
I think it's because everyone rushes to Galaxy's Edge for Rise of the Resistance, and then when they're getting off that ride, they cycle back through and fill into the Star Tours queue.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah,
guess, but
probably. I was gonna say, like when we were just talking about, oh, maybe I can get to Hollywood. My thought was to ride Star Tours. I would love to ride Rise, but that is probably not going to happen. Star Tours has a reasonable wait, and I would prefer that over Millennium Falcon. Like the Falcon has a great queue, it has a great pre-show with Hondo and all that, but just like I get more enjoyment out of walking through the Falcon and all that than I do actually the mission of like, oh, we got to go get the coaxium and blow up some people and then
Yeah. It's
shoddily
Star Tour.
return.
Yeah, and Star Tours just has more variety at least.
It's
So
less work too. It's like you're
yeah,
driving 3PO. I'm not.
yeah, yeah.
Less stress. Okay, so this is kind of related to just Disney as a whole, but it's going to go into our next topic as well. But Disney physical media um, has made a deal with Sony to manufacture and distribute their DVDs and Blu-rays. So Disney before it shut down all sending Blu-rays and stuff to Australia. That was done. I don't know if that'll affect Australians now with this, but this sounds like it is a US and Canada distribution deal, so probably not. Um, but then people were worried about Disney maybe cutting physical media at some point. In fact, this might actually be better and alleviate some of those fears for people because Sony, let's not forget, I think people sometimes forget this. Sony is the person that made Blu-ray. And Disney has a good relationship with Sony because when Blu-ray came out, let's not forget, it was competing with ultra high def or whatever they called it, UHD, right?
UHD. Yeah.
Was what it was. And Microsoft was pushing that. Like if you had an Xbox, you could watch the UHDs. PlayStation, which was Sony, was pushing their own product of the Blu-ray. Disney kind of cemented Blu-ray's win when they signed an exclusive deal with Sony to have their movies use Blu-ray instead of the UHD. I forget who made UHD. I don't think it was Microsoft. I think it was like was somebody else that was in the physical media like Blu-ray making thing. That kind of, in my opinion, because I remember like I waited to see who was going to win this battle because before I switched to do anything. You know, people already know I'm a physical collector. I had been collecting DVDs at this point. Blu-ray and UHD was battling it out, and I was like, I'm not buying any of these until it's cemented. I'm not going to be stuck with like a laser disc situation like some people were. Do you know who it was? Did you look it up at all?
I can't even find it. I feel like they've fallen away that far. They've fallen off real hard.
Yeah, it's like so old. I don't even remember if I'm saying if it's UHD was actually what it was. UHD versus Blu-ray. Because now people kind of call the 4K UHDs. So, see, Blu-ray, original
Yeah,
competitor.
all I can find really is.
Oh, it was HD DVD is what they called it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
That's okay.
And it was developed
Yeah.
by Toshiba. Okay.
Yeah, well,
I remember
no one
like
remembers them.
Universal, I think, made the deal with them, HD DVDs. And this was 2006, and then 2008 they abandoned the format. So, like I said, when Disney kind of made the deal with Sony, in my mind, it cemented it. And I remember people back then kind of saying like, "Oh, that's a huge deal for Sony to get the for Blu-ray to get Disney on board with them." And so there's a history there. I think a lot of times people focus too much on the movie divisions and they say like, "Oh, but like, you know, there's a battle between Spider-Man rights between these two." But like the companies themselves work together very well when it comes to this type of stuff. And let's not forget Sony has a deal to put stuff on Disney Plus in the second pay window now. So that's how like Morbius is now on Disney Plus. So if you're looking for Morbius, there you go. I'm sure Madam Web will premiere there in 2 years after it goes to wherever. I think Stars is what the first window is for them.
Oof.
So this is a big deal because Sony actually cares about their physical formats because they are the ones that made it, right? This is their stuff. And from what I read from collectors and stuff, Sony Sony's physical releases are very, very good. So a lot of people are thinking that's going to help Disney's, because a lot of people complained about Disney's audio on their Blu-rays, and they also complained about how they don't have like Dolby Vision, which Sony puts on like all of theirs, right? So, and you can watch the Dolby Vision, I think, on Disney Plus. But how good is that Dolby Vision on Disney Plus if you have bad internet, right? Like, so that's the issue there. So Disney is offloading that. With that comes the closure of Disney Movie Club, which I'm sure if you are a Disney Movie Club subscriber, you got the email before this news broke, because I did. And I was like, what the hell? They're closing down Disney Movie Club? Part of that was relief, because every month I have to go in there and decline the title if I don't need the movie. And then sometimes I get stuck with 2 copies of the movie, like I have with Black Panther Wakanda Forever at this moment. Because I bought it at like Target and then did not decline the thing on Disney Movie Clubs, and I have 2. But part of it was sadness, because I'm like, what about the exclusives? And so I just bought 2 exclusives as one of my last orders. They were like $10 each. Got Make Mine Music and Melody Time, which were exclusively on Disney Movie Club. I had already had 3 Caballeros Saludos Amigos, which were also exclusive. But I was going to buy Black Cauldron, and that's already sold out, and they're not restocking that. So there's a hole in my collection right there. That's the only Disney movie I'm missing, actually. But besides the new stuff, like there's some new stuff I got to get, but those 3 were the only ones I needed, and now Black Cauldron sold out. So eBay says they're like $75.
Oof.
So I'm hoping Sony's like, we got to get that Black Cauldron money, man, and like make the Black Cauldron again. It's sad on the Disney Movie Club side of it, and like those exclusives, I'm hoping Sony will make that. And it really comes up to how much say is Sony going to get, I guess. Can Sony just make anything, or do they have to get approval from Disney? You know, can they be like, Song of the South, baby, we're releasing it? Or
oh no. I don't think any self-respecting company would do that.
No, they're not going
to in 2024.
They're not going to do that. But you know, that was kind of the extreme example. But will they do like Black Cauldron, which was a bomb, right? And a lot of people don't like it, but there are diehard collectors, and Sony might say, hey, there's money to be made there. And really, how's it going to affect the Disney Plus releases? That's a question, as we're going to transition to that topic soon. But I guess, Jack, I know you're not much of a physical collector, but your thoughts on this deal with Sony?
I mean, I think it's probably good in the long run for Disney. It takes some burden off of their plate to deal with, and allows them to focus in more on other things that people have asked them to focus on. So I think that it's probably a smart strategic decision by Disney. I know it's not ideal for a lot of people like you who are collectors, but I understand completely why Disney is doing it. Like, it makes sense if they're trying to grow out in other directions, like with streaming, like in parks and investments like that. It makes sense to move beyond kind of like dealing with physical media, especially as, you know, there's not as much money in it as there used to be. So pushing it to a company that focuses more intensely on that, it's kind of a win-win for both organizations and both companies.
Yeah, I would take this over them shutting it down completely. So I think there's good. I think there's good stuff to be had here. I mean, Bob Iger said like a year ago when he came in, like we need to make more money off of the different avenues for like these films and TV shows. And he mentioned that. And that's why I was not surprised when the first batch of the Disney Plus shows came out, because I'm like, this is what he was talking about. Like, how do you make more money off of something that sits on Disney Plus? Because right now you're only getting the subs for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put it out there for the collectors that will go and double dip. I have a Disney Plus subscription. I also own all 4 of those shows, right? Like, in case if anything happens to them. Also, I like the better quality than having to rely on streaming. If my internet goes out, I can watch them. there's reasons I like that. I liked it on my shelf, to be sitting next to the rest of the Star Wars and Marvel stuff. Um, this is what Bob was talking about. So I do think this deal also cements that. Sony and them are Sony's Disney's licensed out to Sony. Sony's paying for the license, I assume, right? And they're going to so Disney's reaping in money from that, and I'm sure Disney's going to reap in a certain portion of the actual money from the Blu-ray releases too. So there's money to be had for both sides here, and I think that's why they're doing it, and it's a good sign. I like to take it for a good sign. All right. Well, we got Wave 2 of the Disney Plus Steelbooks. Same artist from the first batch, which is great. I'm trying to find the artist's name. This website doesn't have it, so I apologize. But they do a really good work, and they're releasing on April 30th with the pre-order coming March 12th. So by the time this episode is up, we're going to be really close to that pre-order. I'm really curious to see if these show up on Disney Movie Club at all. Since they're not exclusives, they can the last order for Disney Movie Club is May 20th, I think, is the last order you have to make. So in that sense, there is, I think, a good chance they show up there, and I hope they do because they have a buy one get one 60% off. So I'm hoping, because that's how I got Loki, and when I bought Mando season 1, I paid full price, and I got Loki for like $17 or something. It was crazy. And then later I bought WandaVision and Mando season 2 on Amazon. But that was a good deal, so I'm hoping to take advantage of that if I can, save some money. But these are what they are, and it seems like this is a pattern now, Jack, where they have 2 Marvel, 2 Star Wars on these releases. The last batch was WandaVision, Loki, Mando season 1, Mando season 2. And they staggered the release. Loki was September, WandaVision was November, and Mando was December. This time, they're all releasing on April 30th. We have Moon Knight, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Andor, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Which also is very interesting is that Obi-Wan Kenobi says complete series, which I think makes sense. I know Ewan McGregor's been holding out for season 2. Even then, they can call it something else. It doesn't have to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then the fact that Falcon and the Winter Soldier is listed as a first season. Moon Knight, we kind of thought, but I'm surprised that one's not complete series. WandaVision says complete series. So curious on if there will be a season 2 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier renamed as Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Crossing my fingers for that one. More Sam. That's my take on that. Just more Sam. As much Sam Wilson as Anthony Mackie is willing to perform. Just more of it. Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of people are reading into the release order. Don't, right? Like Loki was not before Falcon the Winter Soldier, but they released that because Loki season 2 was coming out, so they're getting on that thing. And then WandaVision was just their most successful series, so they're like, put that out there. Because people are like, why'd they skip Book of Boba Fett? Why'd they skip Hawkeye? I assume Hawkeye would be in another batch. If they make another batch, I'm assuming the next batch is going to be made by Sony. And I'm assuming they will still release these. I just hope that they keep, like, Sony is smart and keeps the same artist and keeps these things uniform, because like even these like have the same font for the number 1 on the spine that Loki and Mando had. And I'm like, please keep that same, same look. But where was I going with this? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and I assume for Book of Boba Fett, they're going to wait until they drop Mando season 3 because those two tie in together more.
Mm-hmm.
That they do 2 and 2. They were like, why do Book of Boba Fett and then Andor or Obi-Wan instead of doing the 2 standalone shows that do not interfere with anything? in one batch, which is what they're doing here. And plus Andor's release, Andor season 2 was originally scheduled to come out this year, but because of the strikes is getting pushed. This was probably in the works before then, that they're like, "Oh, this will be released before season 2, catch people up that don't have Disney Plus." And then Obi-Wan, of course, is a standalone thing that prequel fans will go buy. And I'm assuming
Yep.
that is what their thought process was.
Yeah, I think these are good shows. I probably won't pick any of them up because maybe Falcon and the Winter Soldier, just because I really like that show. But I'm not. I have. I think I've said this to you before, Jordan. I have too many expensive hobbies to
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
up physical media collection as well.
Yeah, I have cut a lot of my hobbies to the point where I am spending money pretty much just on comics and Blu-rays. And as I'm getting ready to have a kid, like I have to prioritize which stuff I do want to collect, and those are like still the two things I want to collect. Now, the comics will also fall by the wayside at some points. Like I'm really trying to limit it to like 3 books that I want to read monthly and then read the rest digitally. Um and when it really comes to the to like trade paperbacks, there's just like certain characters I want more than others. With the movies, it's like, and Blu-rays, some of those have kind of fallen by the wayside too, where I don't own like every show that I used to like. I own like, before I had a wife and everything, like, and I had like bills and stuff. When I lived at my parents' house, it was like, oh, this show in the store, especially before streaming, I heard good things about this show. How else am I going to watch it? I'm going to buy this season. I'm going to see if I like it or not. It's kind of like this roulette wheel of like, will I like it or not? Right. Most of the time I did. These, like the ones I want to prioritize: Marvel, Star Wars, DC. Those are the things I'm going to be purchasing kind of going forward. And plus I have my Disney animated film collection that I like to have too. So eventually I'll have to catch up and get like Strange World and like, uh, I haven't got one since Encanto, I think. So anything post
Turning Red.
Encanto, I have that one actually. That was a Disney
Okay.
movie club I do have. That's Pixar, by the way. So I wasn't counting
Okay.
that one.
Okay.
But
Wish when it comes out.
yes, Wish when it comes out. Strange World. What was another one? There had to be one more in there.
No, Elemental's Pixar. No, so
Okay.
I think you might
I do
be
collect Pixar too, but
good then.
yeah. So I do have to get those at some point. But yeah. So that'll, like, I don't have Soul. I don't have. I have Luca. I haven't watched it yet, but
Both good movies.
I think that was another Disney movie club that I didn't cancel, and I'm like, oh, I need it anyway. So, okay, so we can move on from this to kind of the heart of this stuff, the park stuff. Bob Iger promised another Avatar land in Disneyland. Now, they kind of retconned this when they released their notes that said what he talked about. They said experience. But everybody on the call heard him say, we have a land in Florida, we're going to open one in California. To which most people's response, Jack, was where?
Yep. That I think that was the first thing I sent you.
But, yeah.
Where does this go?
And why? Is my question. I just don't like this new fangled Disney when they say we're going to put the same thing on each coast. I just don't get the appeal. I understand for some people, like, they can only get to Cali, they can only get to Florida. But one of the things I'm looking forward to when I eventually get to California is Avengers Campus. Would I be planning a Disneyland trip right now if there was an Avengers Campus in Florida that had the same stuff? No, I don't think I would, right? Like, why? Why would I? There has to be some reason for exclusivity at these parks. There's a reason I wanted to go to Paris on my honeymoon. There's a reason I want to go to Tokyo. They have exclusive stuff that I want to see. Not like, oh, let's go to Tokyo and ride Space Mountain. Actually, that's probably a bad example because I think theirs is different. But like, let's go to Tokyo and ride Peter Pan's flight. Like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that when I go to Florida either. It's like there has to be some reason to go to these different things. So if this is a Pandora experience with a different ride, cool. I'll take that. But if it's like a smaller flight of passage that they're trying to squeeze in there, I'm not for that.
Yeah, I mean, what like maybe they could like retheme Grizzly River Run to be like something sort of like Navi, a more thrilling version of like Navi River Journey or something like that. That could be kind of cool. Maybe it's something over in like Critter Country, maybe in Disneyland. Like, oh look, you can visit all the wildlife of Pandora. Oh, that's kind of cool. Uh, something smaller like that. I feel like there's good ways to implement it that don't need it to be a fully immersive land, right? Like take the Tron approach for Magic Kingdom, not the Galaxy's Edge and actual Pandora approach. That you've got in other parks. I think there's plenty of ways to make it still fit in. Maybe it'll be a little jarring, but let's face it, a lot of California Adventure is pretty jarring without, overwhelming anything. So I think it could be cool. Get a new ride out there, drive more people to those parks. Yeah, I think it could be smart
Right.
if
That's what
you
they should be
do it
doing.
right.
They should be trying to get the Avatar hardcore fans, which I don't know how many there are, but there's probably
I
some.
mean, they make a lot of money, those movies,
Yeah.
so
But are
enough.
they hardcore
Enough.
fans? I don't know. But get the hardcore ones to be like, oh, we rode the two in Florida. Now we got to go ride the new one over in California. And you get that sweet, sweet money from them. Not
Mhm,
like if you open up the same thing, they'll be like, well, I just went to Florida and did it. Why would I go
mhm.
to California to do it? The only good thing about Galaxy's Edge being on both is that when I do eventually go to California, I can knock out doing Galaxy's Edge again over there.
Mhm.
So there's benefits to it, but again, I feel like Galaxy's Edge should have had a different attraction at each park as well. I think that would have been cool.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been nice to have something even just slightly different. I mean, even if like maybe Smuggler's Run was different missions, that could be kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
like you pilot a different ship in one of those parks. Like maybe the other one is like oh man, there's not many giant ships that I can think of. Maybe you're piloting like Tantive 4 or something
Oh,
like that,
cool. Yeah.
like and trying to defend against like stormtroopers boarding or something like that. I don't know, like you know, you could do something different. Uh but oh well.
They should have had both set in different time frames. One should have been sequel, one of them should have been an OT. Um, just to differentiate it. Like you ride Rise of the Rebellion over in California and it's the original trilogy characters in there or something. I think that something like that could have worked, I think, very well to get people to go experience some of the same ride with different stuff.
Or like if it was Clone Wars themed in one of them,
Yeah,
that would
yeah.
be super cool because there's so many possibilities you could do with like a Clone Wars themed like a dark ride similar to Rise of the Resistance. Like that could be so cool.
Yeah. So then Iger also went on to say we could actually build 7 new full lands if we wanted to around the world.
They're
Will
not gonna.
they? No.
No.
Uh why say something like this? Apparently, this is in reference to a 2023 company statement where Disney said they have over 1,000 acres of land for possible future development across its existing sites, the equivalent of about 7 new Disneyland parks. But my question to you is like, why even say something like this? Is it like just a flex to be like to shareholder? I mean, he was on a Morgan Stanley call, right? Like, why are you sharing that on there and not on the? I don't know. I didn't really understand it. I'm like, you're
It's
putting
probably like an
expectation.
investment thing.
Yeah, but it just seems like we could if we wanted to. It's like, yeah, I
Or
mean, I could
yeah.
go out and do something if I wanted to. I'm not going to.
I view it as kind of them saying like, oh, like, with the right investments, we can go out and do this kind of stuff, trying to drive in things and show like,
Yeah,
the business has been down a little bit, but look at all of the potential we have for growth that we could be expanding to. Because if it's to Morgan Stanley, the odds are it's not just to shareholders, it's to drum up investment
yes,
for
yeah, yeah.
the parks. And so in that context, I think it makes a lot of sense for them to say like, yeah, look at what we could do if you give us some more of your money, right? Like that. I think it makes sense in that sort of context, but yeah, I still like I think like a lot of the way that it can be taken and skewed makes it a suboptimal way to phrase that.
Yeah, definitely. We know that they're trying to get like what 60 billion or something that they wanted to put towards parks.
60 billion, yeah.
Wow, that's a large number.
Yes, it is.
We'll see if it happens. What I would love to see them start doing is not focusing too much on lands. I saw somebody say that, and I agree with it. It's like before when you did like certain lands or expansions, it would be like not all focused on one IP, and they would usually come across with more rides. Like new, even if you go back to New Fantasyland,
Mhm.
which is IP because it's based off of their own stuff, but like Fantasyland lends itself to being able to take stuff from like every single thing
Yeah.
in their catalog
Yep.
and
Two
put it
rides.
together. Right.
And a show. Two rides and a show.
It got more than that though, didn't it?
Nope. Seven Dwarves Mine Train. You got Ariel, and you got Enchanted Tales with Belle.
But you also got the extra Dumbo spinner.
Oh, right. Yeah, my bad. I forgot. But that's Storybook Circus. I know they
That's
were
part of
announced
New
at the same time.
Fantasyland though.
I still view it as its own thing. I know it's not on the map, but I
But
view it as its own area.
even then, I would say New Fantasyland is probably better done than like Galaxy's Edge in the sense of capacity eating. Like we said, they were
Mhm.
able to add a second spinner to Dumbo. They're like, all right, look, this ride used to be off the chain, crowded. We're gonna move it. We're gonna put another one so that way it's double the capacity. And then having like they added a new restaurant in there, right? Because that's what
Mhm.
Be Our Guest is.
Yep.
They added the LeFou's Tavern. Like, there's more stuff to do there, I think, than some of the stuff in Galaxy's Edge, where you're like, there's two rides, there's no shows. Uh, the character meet and greets are sometimes just like roaming around, so it's hard to
Mhm.
actually meet them. And then it's just shops and restaurant. But even then, it's not like a nice sit. They don't have like a nice sit down restaurant like Be Our Guest over there. So
Yeah, I mean, we've said this before. There's an easy way to fix Galaxy's Edge. What does Disney not have enough of? That's right, spinner attractions.
yes,
So we put a
little
spinner
wings,
attraction. Yep, X wings, A wings,
Y
Y
wings.
wings.
Yeah,
You have them spin around and call it Resistance Training Academy, and you watch people flow in to go ride on an X wing. It's easy money. There you go, easy.
there you go. Same thing. Pandora had two attractions. Like,
Yep.
you
More
gotta.
spinners. That's what we need. More spinners.
You're flying on the on the banshees around.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
It's for the kids that can't get on Flight of Passage.
Yeah, Flight of Passage too
You
intense for
still
you?
have them.
What
You
if
still
we
have them
had
like
Dumbo?
breathing. You still have them
Oh,
breathing
God.
while you're riding.
Oh, that's always the creepiest part of that for me. I feel it's cool, but it's so creepy when it first starts. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I like this.
but yeah, they gotta like make some of these. They gotta start adding more than two things.
Yeah.
Universal's as big of a culprit as Disney in this sense when they're like, here's a new Harry Potter land. It's got one ride. You're like, one?
Here's Super Nintendo Land. By the way, one ride.
Yeah, especially over in Cali. I think they're adding at least two rides over
They're
in
adding, yeah,
Epic,
they're
but
adding a Donkey Kong coaster,
and they also have
which
like a
looks
Yoshi. I
very
think they
cool.
have a Yoshi thing over there that they're doing too.
I
Um,
think so, yeah, but
but yeah, I went to Super Nintendo Land over World, whatever they called it over there,
yeah.
and it's the one ride that has a huge wait time.
Yep.
and you're like, this is it. I was like, man, hopefully Epic adds some stuff. They did. So
Mhm.
that opens up next year. They'll be building a whole new park at the time it takes Disney to build one ride. Okay, Easter egg hunt's coming back to Epcot. That's pretty cool. Flower and Garden, of course, is starting. We'll talk about the menus here shortly, but a new Encanto show is also opening up in Disney World. I don't know if we know much about it, but they're doing some auditions currently
Yeah.
for it.
Just a casting call, it seems right now. I'm not sure where it's going to go,
I would
but
assume like where the Frozen thing is, right? That show.
oh yeah, maybe. Although that show is still super popular and crowded, so maybe there. I'm trying to think if there's any other like unused theaters that they could put it in. Maybe it goes to where Finding Nemo the musical is in Animal Kingdom.
Oh, true, because they wanted to put Encanto somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Then Encanto's not in Dino Land, where Dino Land
Actually, that
currently
is
is.
considered Dinoland, Nemo,
Yeah, that's right.
because I worked parks there.
It's not in Dino Land proper.
Yes, it's the suburbs.
Yes, it's the
Dinoland.
suburbs. Yep.
Okay. Tiana is getting closer to opening. It's summer 2024 is what we know, but uh, people were taking pictures of Josh D'Armo taking like video in front of it. People think it's for maybe one of these calls coming up or something where they're going to drop the release date itself, which makes sense because it's looking pretty good. It's looking almost done.
Yeah. We got a video of the Tiana animatronic a few weeks
Oh yeah,
ago,
that's right.
which was really impressive. Like, and also no face projections. We've won. We've won.
Hashtag team projection. I'm just kidding.
No, no, not
I
again.
do like them. I do like them, but this does look better. I mean, I'll say that.
I was okay with the projections until I rode Frozen Ever After,
And they were
and
broken.
and literally Sven's eyes were green and spinning, it didn't look good.
Far out, man.
He was licking. It was the scene where he's licking that icicle. His tongue is stuck to it. There was something special frozen in there. I'm telling you, it was not okay for him. But like it,
It's the
they're just more
60s,
prone to
man.
problems. They're just more prone to problems.
Yeah, they are. And sometimes it takes Disney a long time to fix those problems.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, they announced this too. We almost forgot about this, but free water park admission starting in 2025 for guests staying at Walt Disney World Resort hotels. Get free admission to Blizzard Beach or Typhoon Lagoon on the day of their check-in. So a little bit of a catch there with having to be a resort guest, but this is a good perk for that. But also a little bit of a catch in the sense of only on your check-in day. But a lot of times people don't plan stuff for their check-in day, and also like, what if your room's taking a while? It's like leave your bags at the concierge, go get changed, head to a water park. I think this is a
Yeah,
really cool perk.
yeah. I mean, like people have been calling for Disney to bring more value into staying at the resorts again, right? With extra magic hours being less and less common. It this is a solid perk. And also it helps Disney because they want more people going to the water parks. That business hasn't been as booming as it was in the early 2010s, for example. Like it was huge then. They had both parks open at the same time a lot of the time. And now I know they say it's for refurbishments, but honestly, come on, it's simple capacity as well.
Yeah,
Neither of them
yeah.
are filling capacity, so they're staggering them and having everyone go to one or the other. That's what they're doing because it's expensive to operate a water park. There's a lot of water that you have to do. There's a lot of cleaning. There's a lot of stuff that has to go into actually maintaining it. So it makes sense for them. This is a way to actually build that up again, get more people, and maybe will lead to both water parks being open at the same time again, which would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good. It's kind of yeah, you said early 2010s. I feel like it is one of those casualties of COVID almost where people are like, do we really want to go into a water park during this
Yeah,
time? Yeah.
yeah, I think that's fair. But I've been to them a few times. They're fun water parks. The wave pool at Typhoon Lagoon is awesome.
We used to
So
always go to Blizzard Beach.
I
Um,
think we went there once. I think we went to Typhoon Lagoon twice. So I
I did. We then we could get in. We were able to get in when we worked there and stuff. So I went there probably like once or twice, and then our Starlight Splash, which was like our college program party,
mhm.
like think like a prom but without
Yeah.
the stiffy dresses and stuff, was at Typhoon Lagoon. So I have a picture of me with like Stitch and Lilo, maybe with like lays on them. They were there.
Mhm.
We also had like so that's like the summer one, but the winter one is like an actual like winter ball where you kind of dress up, and it was at the Contemporary. Interesting.
Cool.
All right, let's talk some of this food that's going on at the Flower and Garden, which I'm sure my wife is eager to try, while I'll stick with my chicken nuggets and fries. But is there anything here that really sticks out to like what items you're seeking?
Yes, for sure. One of the ones that I'm going to go to at the Honey Bistro, Beestro. It's a chicken and waffle place, or like chicken and waffles. I'm a huge fan of chicken and waffles in general, so this already looked fantastic. I'm trying to find the exact ingredients. So it's crispy chicken and a honey sweet cornbread waffle with whipped honey butter and spicy honey. That sounds perfect for me. I'm so excited to try that. It it sounds like perfect for me. I love chicken and waffles. There's a few other things. I know Canada has a maple chocolate whiskey cake, which sounds really good. Um, I think like at the Lotus House as well, they have a spicy mala chicken skewer with creamy peanut sauce. Kind of sounds like chicken satay, maybe, which is really one of my favorite Thai dishes. So, uh, and also at the America Pavilion, they have a spicy chicken gumbo, which sounds like it could be really good, and a bananas Foster bread pudding. Like I'm gonna have to make some choices here, but I know for sure that chicken and waffle is going to be one that I'm going to try because it sounds really good. And then I think I might go with the maple chocolate whiskey cake. I think those are my top two choices.
Interesting. I'm looking through this list, see if there's
Hey,
anything that I would.
they've got ice. They've got an ice cream. They have a peanut butter or grape jelly ice cream.
Mm, I'm not big on ice cream.
Wow. Okay. Well, I tried. I tried.
They have plant-based Dole Whip. I wonder what that's like.
Interesting. Is I guess yeah. Dole Whip isn't plant based. I don't really think about that much, but
I mean, it's hard to tell. For when I made Dole Whip, it's this powder I pour in water and then I stirred it. So I
oh,
don't know
okay.
what it is. It's like a big Gatorade packet almost, like um, but it turns into ice cream. I don't know how, but it
Oh,
does.
I just realized I just found this thing on here. Raspberry and lemon herbal tea. That sounds really good.
Oh, I see that. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of herbal tea, so I think that might be one of my drink choices for the day. That sounds excellent.
you know what I want? I want to go to Joffrey's and I want to get one of those big old donuts.
the
I
big
know that
the
has
big
nothing to
donut.
do with that, but like I had that last time I was there, and I just saw Joffrey's on this list, and I was like, no, I don't want what they have. I want the donut. I want the big donut. I
Well,
don't know. Yeah,
I'll report back on some of
yeah.
the food.
Jack will.
I'll
I'll see if there's anything that gets me uh, that I try, or
hey,
I'll even
they have an
report back if my wife tries something.
They have an orange bird liège waffle at Connections Cafe.
Yeah, I don't know how that would
That
be.
that's just a waffle with with probably like a little chocolate thing with the orange bird printed on it. You know,
Oh,
there
okay.
you
So it's
go.
not like an orange waffle
Yeah, I think it's probably
where it's
just
like
that.
tastes
There
like
you.
oranges. That'd be weird.
Yeah, maybe like a citrus. Maybe it has like some orange, like a citrusy syrup on top of it. That could be kind of good. I thought I did see something that you might like at like the Odyssey. Uh, where they did have the Muppets stuff over Food and Wine Festival,
Oh yeah.
but I might be I'm not thinking of the right place. Oh, the orange lemon smoothie. How about that?
Oh, that's probably good.
Yeah, in a souvenir orange bird sipper cup. There you go.
See, that Orange Bird was one of my prior bosses too, because
Yeah, so there
I
you
worked
go.
at the Orange Bird Sunshine Tree. So
There you go. That's the one for you. There we go. We
all right,
finally did it. We found something.
let's go to our game. What trivia do you have for me today?
So last time we did trivia for the 100th episode, you were not happy that I went to some Disneyland trivia because you don't consider yourself a
I cried
connoisseur
foul.
of Dis.
Yes,
Yeah, a connoisseur of Disneyland
been to
trivia.
Disneyland
So
twice.
yes, so I had only gone there 3 times, so I'm similar, but I focused on just Disney World this
Okay.
time, and specifically about old and defunct attractions. So attractions that no longer exist. I this is a big thing that I'm a fan of. I know a lot about the history of old attractions. I annoy my family every time we go to the parks when I say, this used to be this attraction. Nobody wants to hear it for the 7th time, but I still say it anyway. So I thought, why not make some trivia questions about that? I've got 5 here with a bonus one that's a lot tougher, but we're I think some of these are pretty straightforward. So starting off with the news surrounding the water parks, it's easy to forget that there was once a quite popular water park in the Magic Kingdom resort area. What was the name of that water park? And I do have multiple choice options if you need them, but
It was River Country, wasn't it?
it was River Country. You got it. The first question. River Country closed in the 90s,
Yep.
and you can still see it, quite
Yep.
quite a bit of it from the
They
Fort Wilderness
did
campgrounds.
not bother
So,
knocking it down.
nope, there's just a wall separating it. You can still see a lot of it. Uh, all right, so next one here. The old Hollywood Studios featured one of my favorite rides in a Disney park, the Great Movie Ride. While that attraction is no longer exists, let's see if your memories of it still do. Which of these movies was not represented in that classic attraction? We've got 4 options here. We've got Raiders of the Lost Ark. We've got The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We've got Footlight Parade and West Side Story.
It's West Side Story, isn't it?
West Side Story was not in there. I think it would have been a great addition to it, but though all of those do exist. Footlight Parade is the first scene that you would see with the dancers in the water
Oh,
pageant.
right, right.
Yep, and then you've got the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That is combined with the Searchers in the Western scene, and of course you've got Raiders of the Lost Ark with its own show building right before your guide gets a little greedy and chooses a jewel that leads to their demise,
Yes.
or your replacement guide, I should say. West Side Story also, which surprised me, is not featured in the final clip show of
Interesting.
all of the movies. I thought it would be, but it's not. So that I thought that was kind of interesting. So next one here, Animal Kingdom trivia here. Before Animal Kingdom was claimed to be, quote, not a zoo, Disney World had a half-day park that they very proudly claimed as essentially a zoo. Can you name that park, which closed in the 90s and has been a very popular site for urban explorers to visit?
Uh, what do you mean by a popular site for urban?
Like urban explorers go and visit this closed off like a half-day park. So you can still kind of see it. It's been overgrown. I do have another hint. Its name lives on as part of Animal Kingdom.
Oh, it's right, Discovery Island.
Yep, Discovery Island. Yep.
Yeah, it's the
St-
one that's in the middle of Bay Lake, isn't it?
yes, it is. So you can still see it. It's very overgrown. People will sometimes try and go out there, sneak out there. It
There
is
was a guy
very illegal.
recently, right? That
Yes, there
got
was.
there that was like streaming or like recording himself over there, and then like
Yep.
they got him.
Yep, it is very illegal to do that because it is
Yes,
trespassing.
trespassing.
Yes, that was not a good ending for that person there. So I've got two more attractions and then the bonus one. We'll go with another animal, like sort of Animal Kingdom related thing. Animal Kingdom is the park that has the least replaced or scrapped attractions. It's perhaps the park closest to its original form from opening day. In fact, only a couple of major shows and attractions have closed down over its 26 years of existence. But one attraction didn't even last until 2000 at Animal Kingdom. Can you name that attraction?
Wow, it didn't last until the year 2000. So
Yep,
it's
it was
within 2 years.
only open for a year and a half.
Huh.
I can tell you the area of the park it was in as well.
Sure, what's the area?
It was in Discovery Island. And it hasn't been replaced with anything either. So it wasn't like a former Tree of Life show or
Right,
anything
right.
like that.
Hmm. Is it like a is it something that was on like the water boats around Discovery Island?
I'm gonna give it to you. Yeah, that's close enough.
I remember
That
something there that people said like, "Oh, they never did anything with that."
Yeah, that I'll give it to you. It was the Discovery River boats. You would go
Oh, right,
around
right.
and they would have different scenes, including a scene that teased Beastly Kingdom, which was a land that never came to be at Animal Kingdom.
Don't
It
they
had a
still have some of
dragon.
those there? Like the isn't like Huey, Dewey, and Louie out there somewhere?
Yes. So what they do have, so you know where you can meet like Doug and Russell
Yeah.
from Up, like that area right there was the original loading platform for the Discovery River boats. You can see how there's like stairs going down towards the river. That's where you were original or one of the loading platforms. There were several around it. It was kind of like it was a short attraction. You could use it as transportation, sort of like the Disney Railroad at Magic Kingdom.
Oh, so you get off somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. Or you could take it all the way around. But there
Okay.
were little vignettes of different things, including iguanodons for dinosaur,
Mm.
all of that kind of stuff. But we got two left. I'll go with this one. I think it's easier, and then we can do the bonus one, which is the toughest one. Magic Kingdom has seen many classic attractions be replaced over the years, from Mr. Toad to Snow White's Scary Adventures. However, Tomorrowland has seen probably the most attractions be replaced that were not quite as well celebrated, not as popular, really. One of which was replaced by Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin. Do you know the attraction that Buzz Lightyear replaced? And I do have options for this if you want
Yeah, give
those.
me the options.
All right. So we got Mission to Mars, The Timekeeper, Delta Dreamflight, and Adventure Through Inner Space.
I'm gonna have to go with Adventure Through Inner Space.
It is not Adventure Through Inner Space. It is actually Delta Dreamflight,
Wow.
formerly known as If You Had Wings. That attraction was being scrapped, and then Delta hopped in at the last minute and sponsored it for a few years to keep it alive. And then when Toy Story 2 came out, they replaced it with Buzz Lightyear.
Nice.
Because, you had to the IPification of Disney was still happening in the 90s. I think we forget about some of that. But
Yeah, yeah.
the Timekeeper was replaced by the Laugh Floor. Mission to
Yes.
Mars was replaced by just a restaurant. And Adventure Through Inner Space, I don't believe was at Disney World. I think it was just at Disneyland. And
Okay.
that was replaced by Star Tours over there. Uh,
Interesting. There goes
and
my perfect game.
Well, you know what? You got the bonus question, which could still get you a perfect game because it's out of five, so you could still get 5 points here. So this one's about my favorite park. We got Epcot. Epcot has seen a lot of change since its opening in 1982, and I'd argue that Future World is the most changed area
Yep.
of any Disney park. Which this is a tougher one because which attraction has had the fewest different iterations? Basically meaning fewest new overlays or complete replacements since their opening. And make sure to consider previous occupants of these ride areas. So I've got 6 options here. One of them has less overlays or iterations than the others. We've got Spaceship Earth. We have Test Track. We have Living with the Land. We have Imagination. We have Cosmic Rewind. And we have Soarin'.
The Cosmic
I
Rewind
also
one throws me off because I'm like, to have fewer than that, you have to have like 0 overlays.
remember to consider
Oh, right. That
previous
it used to be something
occupants
else.
of
Yeah.
ride
Okay.
areas. Just so you know, that's why I threw that in there. Remember to consider previous occupants of those ride areas.
I'm leaning Living with the Land because I can't think of what was there before. And I don't know what they've really changed that much.
Do you want to lock that one in?
Yeah, I'll lock it in.
You got a perfect score. It is
Oh, there we
Living with the
go.
Land. It's only had 2 iterations, previously called Listen to the Land, which the only thing that changed was the scenes at the beginning. There was one part called the Symphony of the Seed, which showed a seed growing into a plant. And that was the original show before going through, all the scenes of like the American frontier, all of that sort of stuff. And then Spaceship Earth has had 4 iterations since its opening, which is tied for most on this list. Soarin' has had 4 iterations because you have Soarin' over California originally, Soarin' around the world, and then before that was the previous occupants. The previous occupants were Food Rocks and Kitchen Cabaret. So 4 there. Cosmic Rewind 3 because you have Cosmic Rewind, you have Ellen's Energy Adventure, and Universe of Energy. So 3 different things there. Imagination has had 3 different iterations of the Figment ride that have had decreasing quality ever since. And you have Test Track with 3, starting with World of Motion, the OG Test Track, and finally with the new Test Track, and soon to be 4 because they're creating a new version of Test Track, apparently. So Living with the Land.
Want to go back to the original.
Yep, Living with the Land is the most static of all of them.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but there you go. You
can't change that ride too much.
Right. You got a perfect score essentially with the bonus question, and on the toughest one of them all as well. So there you go. You did it. You redeemed yourself on some trivia.
There we go.
So anyone who's listening at home, I hope you played along with the trivia. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm a huge fan of past Disney trivia. I think it's a really cool area that isn't often explored. There's plenty of documentaries out there on it, but I think that past Disney parks trivia is really cool. So I hope you enjoyed that trivia.
All right, well, that'll wrap us up here on Behind the Dreams. Try to get more frequent with these, I guess, but we're going to be hopefully sharing our experiences after our trips that are in the middle and end of March. And then hopefully some more news starts coming. It's tough to do this podcast at times because none of us are like on the ground there, right? Like to test out these new experiences or really like do it as well or as much as what other people are doing. So it kind of just becomes at times news catch-ups and our thoughts on those news. But Disney hasn't had that much news really. I mean, you got the behind the scenes stuff with the pelts and the Iger feud going on, Disney Wars 2.0, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so that'll wrap us up here. Make sure you follow us at all of the social links in the description below, where you can like and subscribe to us here on the YouTube channel, and make sure you rate and review us over on Apple Podcasts, and Spotify now allows us to be rated as well. Yeah, so thank you all for watching or listening along. Share your score of the quiz in the comments below, and have a great rest of your week.